Welcome back. Welcome back. Our next guest, Constantine Aline, is in the building. She joined us recently to share all about her incredible career working in corrections at Rikers Island and her civilian corrections academy that she created.
Yes, we are excited. That's right, Sandy. And if you're a civilian working inside of a prison, you won't want to miss this information. She has a wealth of it, and just her experiences beyond that I've seen or heard before. So we are so glad to have her back. Come on in, Connie.
Oh, thank you guys for having me back. This is exciting. I swear it is.
And I didn't
Oh my
mention, I
gosh,
forgot
we
to
love
mention,
you.
you have the best smile too. You have the best smile.
Oh, thank you.
Aw.
Oh my goodness.
So
Oh
good.
gosh.
Well, we are going to get into so much today. I know working in the prison system had to come with many challenges, and we all know reform is always a big topic.
Absolutely. So certainly when I started out in the jail, I started on Rikers Island back in 2000. And then I was later recruited to the Connecticut Department of Corrections, where I served as a prison health services administrator. So between the two spaces, certainly it was a lot learned going from New York to Connecticut. But I think the reality is that as a non-uniformed employee who never worked in law enforcement before, never had any, insights into that, it was certainly walking into probably one of the most dangerous environments. And so for me to walk in and not receive training is really why I started the academy. But from a training perspective, when you don't have the necessary insights or the skills to navigate this environment, you end up becoming compromised. There are so many people who really care that these inmates don't come back. Right. And unfortunately, we are tied up in the bureaucracy of, a traditional paramilitary structure, right? Which is one of the things that I think prison reform is pushing for, right? Like, how do we make some adjustments to this environment so that there can be some innovation, so that the folks who are in there working with this population can actually do their jobs?
Right. And thank you for sharing that, Connie. But for those who maybe have never stepped foot into a prison, can you give us really just maybe some insight and idea of life on the inside? And a two-part question. One, how is life on the inside from your experience, and some of the support that you see that the prisoners are having to go little or without?
Yeah. So the first part of it, life on the inside as an inmate it's not fun, right? It's not nice. There are some facilities that are a little more from an infrastructure perspective. They are more appropriate conditions of confinement. And there are some facilities that are so old, but we are there as providers. And based on their Eighth Amendment right, we try to make sure they get the standard of care that you would receive when you are out in the community. But are the resources the same, right? The resources are sparse in many of these facilities where you have people who are trying to make the best of what they have. But how can I provide the best care for this person when I don't even have access to the resources to be able to do that? There are some spaces where the housing units are more locked as opposed to others where they can go to programming and they can do other things that sort of help prepare them for transition back into, the communities. But it isn't an easy life being in prison, right? Just because it's not. There was a memo that was put out by one of the captains that essentially said that the women would only be allowed to have 2 tampons and 2 pads for their entire cycle. So as the prison health services administrator, it is my job to go down and create the case so that we don't do this to this population, right? Because you think not only is this inhumane, right? But now I have to also think about what are all the medical conditions that are going to be the fallout from them probably not changing a tampon or a pad, right? Sorry for how gross this may seem to some that are listening,
It's real, though.
but this is very real. So ultimately, some arguing back and forth a little bit and some strong conversations, and we were able to get rid of the memo that was posted, and they were provided with what they needed. But that didn't come without, if they didn't look like you, you wouldn't be here.
So it's so interesting to hear about all this because we don't hear these stories. So tell us more about the Civilian Correctional Academy and how people that need the program can get involved. And also, how does this situation tie into prison reform?
For sure. So the academy is a structured training. There are 8 learning modules that they go through. Once they complete the 8 learning modules, we have something we created called the situation room. They take everything that they learned and apply it into that situation. Once they're done with the situation room, they have a quiz. They have to score at least a 70 or better to move on to the next module. Once they complete all 8 modules, they do get a certificate of correctional readiness. We are the first and only that are certifying non-uniform staff to be correctional ready. So that's very exciting. Training is all about like behavior, right? How do we train for the behavior we want to see in the environment? And we don't want people coming in who don't really care. We don't want people coming in or not being trained to understand that they can care, that they can show pride and be prideful about the work that they're doing, right? And so that we try to infuse in the training process. And when we talk about prison reform, the thing that really gets to me is that we have to bear in mind that there is a criminal justice framework that includes police, prosecutors, and courts, not just corrections, right? We're kind of the place that they end up in after they've gone through the system. And for me, it's like, how do we make sure that, yes, while corrections is a space that we want to make sure there's change, there's an entire framework that has to be addressed before someone even gets to our doors.
Awesome. Well, Connie, thank you so much for sharing all this information. We know that you will be back with us. So before you go, please tell us how people can connect with you, your website, please.
Sure. I am at conniealleen.com and I am at civiliancorrectionsacademy.com, and really from conniealleen.com, you can get everything there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Connie.
Thanks so much, Connie. Stay with us. The Spoiled Coach is next.
Hi, my name is Brooklyn Sudano, and you can catch me on Cruel Summer on Freeform, Hulu, and Amazon worldwide. You are watching the Connect Network TV.